everyone. This is A Bit of Business. My name is John Fitzgerald, and on behalf of Lear Media TV and the British and Irish Trading Alliance, welcome to the show. If you've never heard of Weapons Down, Gloves Up, you are in the right place. Weapons Down, Gloves Up is an 8-week innovative boxing initiative for young people aged 16 to 24 that blends sport with education to get kids off the street and back on track to full-time employment. This program provides safe places for youngsters to receive combined educational and sports services in a disciplined and fun environment. Incredibly, they have a 100% completion rate for the program and for securing employment for everyone going through it. We are joined today by 3 special guests who can tell us more about this hugely beneficial and innovative initiative. Jack Whittington, Chris Nesbitt, and Paul Whitnell, welcome to the show. Jack is the project manager at Flamingo Fire Protection and is cycling to Poland at the start of October with a few of his team to raise £10,000 for Weapons Down, Gloves Up. This is 890 miles of hard going, and Jack is not talking about it, he is actually doing it. Chris is the chairman of Weapons Down, Gloves Up, and he passionately promotes the brand and secures funding and sponsorship for the program to keep the lights on and grow the brand and program across the country. Paul Whitnell, of course, chairman and founder and president of BITA and the driving force behind the success of the organization over the last 10 years. So I'm going to come to you in a second, Jack, to talk about your fundraising exploits, which sounds very exciting and a tough challenge for you. But I'm going to start with Chris. So can you give us an overview, Chris, of Weapons Down, Gloves Up? Tell us a little bit about its origins and who it is supporting directly.
Yeah, so it was actually formed going back to the back end of 2019. And what we're trying to do is identify the kids, and I say kids, 16 to 24-year-olds, so apologies, but the students that are most likely, and it doesn't have to be that are involved in gun and knife crime, but the most likely that may be affected by gun and knife crime or could get involved in gun and knife crime. So what we're trying to do is just change the mindset, get them to realise that crime doesn't pay, and to realise that if they can change the mindset, get a healthy body, healthy mind, and then get the right role models and then get themselves into education, that we can get them a job. And just to realise that, you know, if you're not academic, which a lot of them aren't, that there are jobs out there that we can get them. So the 2 main areas that we're trying to support is construction and the hospitality industries. They're the 2 that we're working with most at the moment.
And Chris, in the introduction, before we came on live, you were talking about the recent events in Liverpool and the consequences and the impact that it has had on Weapons Down, Gloves Up. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, it's horrendous. You know, you don't want what's happened in any city. You don't want a single person to lose their life or to be injured in any way, shape or form. You know, as you said, before we came on live, the positives that have come out of it, and you wouldn't want this to happen, for these positives to happen. But within 48 hours, just on my Weapons Down, Gloves Up email alone, I had over 100 applications, which I think probably 60 or 70% of them were to actually volunteer for Weapons Down, Gloves Up. And then the remainder were employers, education providers, and funders who all wanted to get involved. You know, as an example, just in that 48-hour period, I'd never had a friend or family member ask to get involved with Weapons Down, Gloves Up until that point. But after what happened from that weekend, when I think 4 or 5 people were killed in a 3 or 4 day period, I had 7 friends and family all get in touch with me and say, how can I volunteer? What can I do to help? So it just shows how much the city pulled together as a consequence of the, you know, the horrendous events that happened over a couple of weekends ago.
And Paul, from your perspective, this is a really powerful grassroots social impact initiative here. And how can BITA support this moving forward?
Well, I suppose BITA has been involved in a lot of these initiatives in the past. And one of the points that I'd like to make that Chris has just touched on there is that it shouldn't take a tragedy of this magnitude for people to actually, you know, get engaged and wake up. Unfortunately, this is something that's going on in society all the time. So from our perspective, we're involved in lots of things that have a social impact. The Power Day Foundation, for instance, is something that's very similar that is happening. And what we've done is we've connected Chris to those people and got these conversations going to have a more joint up approach to this that can have a national and an international impact. So from BITA's perspective, it is all about the communication of these messages. These people are putting a lot of time, their energy, their passion, enthusiasm into this in a genuine way, which mirrors and reflects what the values of BITA is all about. So we as an organization, it's our job to actually give them the platform and give them the communication tools and shout out loud about the goodness that they're doing, because education is everything. And it's the only thing that is going to change things if it's done in a proper way. And I've seen their approach. I've seen Chris's approach and his committees in terms of what they're doing. And it's a fantastic practical solution that they've got in place that will make massive social impact. So what I'm doing is I'm calling on the community of BITA, I'm calling on the wider community to recognize what these guys are doing and help them to keep it going, build it stronger, and make that social impact very impactful, that we'll see the results in a very short period of time.
And of course, funding is a huge part of this. I'll come back to you in a second, Chris, but funding is a huge part of this. Now, Jack, can you talk through your involvement with Weapons Down, Gloves Up, and exactly what you're doing with your fundraising cycle to Poland, please?
So it started, John, with actually the BITA community sharing one of the posts on LinkedIn of something they've done. So I started looking into who they are and what they're doing and what Chris and Dave is doing there. And again, I've said it to the guys, they seem to be doing it a little bit differently to everyone else. And they seem to be doing it from love perspective. So we've got my partners from Poland who we run the business with. So we decided, myself and one of the colleagues are going to cycle from our office in Sheerness down in Kent over to Poland at the end of this month. It's about 890 miles with some roadworks going on. It might slightly alter on the way. But I really wanted to, afterwards, to come up and speak to the kids as well and to show them I struggle with reading and writing. I started a business 3 years ago. We've turned over some great numbers in the last couple of years, and we're growing. So growing up in southeast London, you rub shoulders with the exact target audience that Weapon Down, Gloves Up are going for. So to be able to share my story will be a tiny raindrop in the ocean of what they're doing. But I think it's enough of what I can do to support. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to read the podcast, see the podcast. They've read all the posts that have gone out. And if they can do their little piece as well, whether that's financially or with their time, I think it'll make the likes of Chris and David's life a lot easier with the success of Weapons Down, Gloves Up. So I asked everyone to reach into their pockets and click on the GoFundMe page that will come along with the post and give what you can and at least help support me and our colleague get out to Poland and do what we can to offer that back to Weapons Down, Gloves Up. I think the slogan of 500 quid a kid, it says it all, to be honest. I think it's a very small amount to give someone the opportunity to get out of that world and to be a better person for themselves. I think it was said before the video, discipline and self-respect of what Weapons Down, Gloves Up are offering are two key things from that age group to then take the next step to my age group. I'm 36 this year. That gap is a very important time in your life, and I think that sets you up to be the man who you're going to live through life. So the opportunity that's being given there by David, Chris, and the team, I think is outstanding, and the way BITA can really push that out. I think Paul said as a conduit, as a platform for everyone's success there.
Chris, can you tell us what were the biggest challenges that you found or faced as you're trying to build support for Weapons Down, Gloves Up, and who has been with you along the journey to support you?
I think the biggest thing and the hardest thing was to actually get the model right. So the model that we've discussed is this 8-week training, 4 weeks training. So it's 2 sessions per week in the gym, and then they go on to have a couple of weeks worth of actual education. We're ripping that model up and we're almost starting again. And what we're now going to be offering is a weapons down, gloves up approved gym model, where the kids actually get paid by weapons down, gloves up to go into the gym as often as they want. And until the gym coach actually says, this kid's ready, they've got respect, they've got discipline, they're turning up regularly, that's only at the point then where we're actually going to put them onto the weapons down, gloves up education program and move them into employment. We're not going to force the kids to go into it. Whereas in the past, we were sort of saying straight away, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And we were giving them 8 sessions in a gym and 2 weeks in the classroom. That wasn't enough, anywhere near enough to change the mindset. And that's the general model that seems to go on at the moment. And there's a lot of organizations that, I've got to say, are questionable as to their motives. Are they doing it for money, or are they doing this to actually get the results of getting the kids not only into work, because there's funding to get people into work. What we're measuring success on is, are they still there in 12 months' time, or are they in a better job in 12 months' time, which is even more important. Have they progressed and are they moving on? So we've actually changed that model now. And what we're doing is we're trying to give up to 12 weeks worth of education before they start. They could have up to a year in the gym, whether they're ready in a day, a week, a month, or a year. That's totally down to the gym coach to say, this kid's now ready, put them onto the class, get them onto the program, get them into education. And then even once they're into employment, we're going a step further again. And we're also then going to give them an apprenticeship. And that apprenticeship, we're thinking about giving them a different apprenticeship to what they might be working in. So David Hughes, who's one of the founders with James Battle and myself on Weapons Down, Gloves Up, David's employed about 70 of the kids so far through 2 of his businesses, DT Hughes and SiteSafe. And it's been an immense success. It really, really has. But what we were thinking about is, if you're going to be a civil engineer, you're going to be working in the ground, digging holes, laying cables. Imagine if you've then got a digital marketing course as well. And whilst you're watching your boss do his job and teaching you how to do things, you might be recording it on your phone. And then, because you've been taught digital marketing, you might create some how-to videos, how to excavate cable laying, how to replace a manhole, how to replace a drop curb. As daft as that may sound, that could do lead generation for David's business. And it could also then generate leads for recruitment, because at the moment there's a big problem with recruitment. And that's why one of the things that we're doing is we're working with the construction industry. So then that kid who's got that dual skill of, he's got the labor skill, but then they've also got this ongoing apprenticeship in digital marketing. David might look at it and go, do you know what? He's brilliant, or she's brilliant at digital marketing. I want him in the office. So we're looking at actually giving them an ongoing apprenticeship once they're into employment. So again, the model was, once we've got them into employment, we thought we'd done our job. And whilst we've got a really high success rate, David looked at what his success is with DT Hughes and SiteSafe, and he actually's got a 92% success rate 12 months later. We didn't think that we'd get anywhere near that. So we've got to try and maintain that as much as possible. And when you've started, one of the challenges was always, we've got more time to give to the kids and to give to bending the arm up to back to people to ask for favors. You can't do that when we've got a target of 500 kids in 2023 and 1,000 kids in 2024. You can't pull those types of favors in. So to try and maintain that 92% success record of having these people still in employment in 12 months' time and hopefully in better jobs in 12 months' time, that's what I see as success. And that's where the problems and challenges have been. And that's where we'll be in the future.
It sounds, Paul, to me, BITA has been very active in looking at the labor shortage in the construction sector and working on initiatives to generate and encourage more apprenticeships. Is there an opportunity here for an organization like Weapons Down, Gloves Up and BITA to combine resources here, Paul, to sort of fuel the growth of the apprentice in the construction sector?
Yeah, we've made reference to the circular economy in terms of sustainability, and this is a real example of the circular economy in terms of the labor shortage. So when you've got a system like this in place that's robust and it actually is proven to be successful already in terms of what DTUs have benefited from this, and Dave and his team, it's a great example. We can actually then communicate this outwardly to 750 companies nationwide, that there's this availability now in terms of the industry. And if you look at the particular sectors of the labor shortage in the construction sector, which is going to get worse, and the hospitality sector, which is creaking at its bones all summer. These are areas that we can actually make serious impact. And unfortunately, government is in a spin around with rhetoric. This is something that's definitive and proven to work. So let's concentrate on these parts and let's communicate these benefits to people within the community of BITA and the wider reach, that this system works and it needs to be supported. And, you know, I love the fact that the devil in the detail is there in terms of giving the kids time to almost recover from what is like an illness when they go down the wrong path, and give them that time to see the right way and do the right thing with the right people. And this is what it's all about. So it's not just putting a plaster cast over something. This is actually fixing a problem. And that's the difference. And this is why I am absolutely amazed with the work that these guys have done so far, and 100 behind supporting this, because I think it's a fantastic initiative.
Chris, there's, as Paul mentioned, over 700 companies in the BITA network, and obviously a wider business community watching this show. What support specifically are you looking for from companies and business leaders watching the show today?
I think more than anything, I think people have this impression that people want funding, and it's not necessarily funding that we need. Yes, we need funding to do this weapons down, gloves up approved gym model, because we're going to pay the gym coaches and we're going to upgrade the gyms, put changing rooms in there for females, showers, lockers, CCTV, access control. But most importantly, it's volunteers. At the moment, we've got a team of 3, I'd say, verging on full-time. When we actually look at the hours that James Battle, David Hughes, myself put in, yes, we run other businesses, but the amount of hours we put in, some weeks it's knocking on 40 hours, and to most people, that's a normal working week. And we're putting that in on top of running our business. So if we can get people to actually volunteer to help us, even remotely, and even if it's a day a week, that's invaluable. So what we're doing is we're putting sponsorship packs together to say, if you can give us your time or your staff's time, in return, we'll help promote you and your business, and hopefully using contacts with the likes of Paul and other people, we'll connect people, we'll connect the dots, and hopefully we'll generate more business for you and promote you. So ultimately, we'd like time and people to volunteer. And the other one is to actually give jobs to the kids. You know, if every single employer who's a member of BITA could give one kid to a job, it would be immense. And as we then can team up with other people, I was just going to thank Paul before, so apologies for nearly interrupting, but you know, the first BITA event that I went to, I met yourself, Jack, within half an hour of walking through the door. So I went to BITA not knowing what to expect. You saw my badge, came over and said, no way, I've been meaning to meet someone from Weapons Down, Gloves Up. We're from Liverpool, you're from Kent. Next minute, you've seen the badge. And before we've even sat down for lunch, we'd connected with you. Paul comes over and introduces himself and introduced me to Power Day. And I'll tell you why this is such a powerful partnership that we're going to form with Power Day. One of the biggest problems that you get with crime and people who've been involved in crime is going back to their locality. So if you go back to your locality and you start knocking around, you're seeing the same faces, you might have come out of prison, and next minute someone says, here's a job for you, and you haven't got a job, you go back into crime straight away, or you're going to get tempted to get into crime if you're knocking around with the wrong people. So what Power Day and ourselves have talked about, and this is very early days, is we want to form a relationship where if they've got someone who's got a problem in London, they can send them to Liverpool. We'll look after them. We'll put them through the program. We'll get them a job. We'll get them somewhere to live as well. We'll even do that because James Battle's offered places so that he'll put people into places to live. And vice versa, we've got problems in Liverpool. We want to team up with Power Day. And once we've got this model right, you know, I've said that we will put our full business model and every single document online for everyone to copy. We want everyone to copy what we're doing. We don't get paid for it. As Tony Bellew says about, you know, the boxing coaches that do this, do it for love, not for money. They're doing it for the right reasons. And we want to do exactly the same. And the Power Day conversations that we've had is we want to, on a monthly basis, get more people. There's another sort of Weapons Down, Gloves Up style business in South London as well. We want to, you know, pull all the dots together and see if we can get 6, 7 or 8 organizations like Weapons Down, Gloves Up, and share best practice on a monthly basis, or encourage other people in other areas. And it could be BITA members. You might get 3 or 4 BITA members to say, I love what you guys are doing. We'd like to do it in Newcastle or Dublin or whatever. we'll give them the model, we'll give them the framework, we'll give them the paperwork. And if they want to do that, and then we can create an organisation where we share best practice ideas on a monthly basis, and then more BITA members in each of those respective areas can offer jobs to the kids, it'll be an immense partnership for all of us.
Fantastic. Clearly, time and volunteering is important, ladies and gentlemen. So if you do have time and you want to volunteer, get in touch with Chris. But funding is also important. So I'm going to come back to you, Jack, now, because how can people support you with your fundraising efforts as you go to Poland in October?
So we've got the GoFundMe page set up. There's been some lovely donations so far, but I'm sure between my own network and the BITA family as such, I'm sure we can produce a lot more between us, between each other. Although Chris does mention there that funding ain't everything, even to push on to the apprenticeship side, to match up with what Power Day is doing. A lot of the work we do is nationwide away from Kent. So locality for these kids, I think, again, is a big factor of it. To be able to take them out of Liverpool, to show them a bit of the country, to show them places they never knew existed on this little island that we live on. I think it'd be great for them. So any other companies that can get involved and offer that way out, I think that'd be a great opportunity for them and a way to get involved. But again, please dig deep in your pockets, guys, and give us what you can. If it's not 500 quid a kid, please do just give what you can offer. We've said anyone that pulls £500 in, we will do a programme with Chris that we will show a certain kid from start to finish all the way through the programme, and we'll be able to keep them updated to show the progress of how far their donation has gone. And I think it would be a good 360 to see that something so small can go so far in someone else's world.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Jack. That's very impressive. Chris, your program is also very, very impressive and doing wonderful work. I'll leave the last word to Paul. You're on television. What's your single message about this program to the BITA community and the wider business audience watching today?
I suppose the message is it's about delivering, it's about doing, and the practicality of doing is very difficult. You've got to put the devil in the detail into it. This is a program that has outstanding qualities in terms of its approach, outstanding people in terms of their integrity in delivering this program. And this has an outstanding chance of creating social impact. So people of all ilks, listen, learn, and support. This is a chance for you to have your part to play in this. It's very simple, it's very cost effective, and we're asking everybody to come in a scrum and make sure that we can actually do something about this finally, because government have failed, and we want to show that the power of people is the only way forward.
Paul, thank you very much for that. Chris, Jack, thanks for joining us today. Jack, the very best of luck to you on your cycle. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been A Bit of Business. My name is John Fitzgerald. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you.